Cormac.
Hello. Hello,
Hello, man.
hello.
Good to see you. Good to be with you.
It's you too, yeah.
It's been a little journey, hasn't it?
It's been been a little.
Yeah, but
It's been a
you
great journey.
you're still a teenager.
I guess so, yeah. No one's
It's
ever said that to
crazy.
me before. It's nice to hear. Yeah, dude, I'm still a
We
teenager,
should
yeah.
start right there because why don't you share with our audience where you're going this fall, what you're studying, and I guess yeah, where you're moving from.
Um, I'm Cormac. I'm from Edinburgh, Scotland, and I'll be attending Juilliard this fall. Woohoo! For acting, my BFA in acting. Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
It's very exciting. It's not your first time auditioning, correct?
No, it's been my third time auditioning at that
Your
time.
third
Yeah,
time auditioning. So
yeah.
you auditioned when you were how old
My
for the
first
first?
my yeah, my first audition, I was 16. I was 16 years old. Yeah, and now I'm 19. Yeah.
What 16-year-old just feels like, let me just audition for Juilliard.
Yeah, I know.
What was going through your mind? How did you even were you even eligible?
Yes, I think I was. I think 16 was if I'm right, it was the cutoff age of applying. Um
It
and
is.
yeah, I think I'm quite young for my year at school. So we were all applying, and it was me and three other guys who are all at drama school now, and I'm so proud of all of them. And so if they see this, I love you guys. But sorry. But yeah. So I was the only one who wanted to apply to Juilliard, and yeah, just
Cool. And so you probably learned some things. Why don't we start with that 300, 30,000 foot view? Like if you reflect on the last 3 years of auditioning,
Mhm.
what's something that, I guess you've taken away from the experience as an artist?
Um, I for me it was something my dad said to me after the second time going. He said, "Do you want to go to Juilliard or do you want to be an actor?" I said I want to be an actor, and he's like, "Great." So yeah, I think the biggest takeaway from all of it was just to, I guess, yeah, love what you do, and don't be so hard on yourself. Because remember the first year, it was just I just was dreadful to myself about it, and yeah. Just don't be so hard on yourself, and remember that you do this because you love it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Wise dad. Wise
what
dad.
very wise dad. Yeah, I know,
He was
very lucky.
basically, am I correct in that he was basically saying, are you idolizing the school or are you idolizing like your dream and your pursuit? Was that what he was trying to make the distinction?
That's exactly it. Yeah, and I think I was creating this sort of idea for myself, and not intentionally, but I was thinking about, rather than what can this training do for me as an actor, which is so much as I've learned over these years. But just I want to go to Julia and that's it, and there wasn't really much, I guess, thought behind that. Um, so yeah.
How did your personal statement change? Do you recall like what you were talking about in terms of your art and your vision and your craft now versus like when you first started applying?
Yeah, I mean, I think since applying was like a journey for me. I was able to kind of use my experiences in between applying to kind of talk about how I thought in between, and what I'd learned. But yeah, I do remember my first one. It was on a different laptop. I was gonna like get it up and read it through, but
Love to
but
hear some of it.
yeah, I know, just 2 hours of reading. Yeah. Anyway, we yeah, it was very different. It was, I think, my this year has been it's a lot more personal this year. um it's a lot more honest, and just like who I am, how I feel about this, why I want to do it, why I want to go to the school. Whereas the first year, it was very sort of personal statement. You know this is what I've done. I guess kind of robotic and not really truthful to myself, which is, it's good to say good to talk about your experiences and on what you've done. But you know, at the end of the day, these people are here to see you and you only. You know,
Hmm.
like there's the more you try to you know, tell them what they want to hear, which is really what I was trying to do the first 2 years. Is like, what does Juilliard want me to be? The more they're going to be like, okay, well that's not, you know, it's not Cormac we're talking to. So yeah, I think the last year I was like, okay, Cormac, and it's hard. It's a hard wall to break, but I think and once you do, um, just yeah, just be honest and don't stop trying. You know, I would not, you know, try, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
know. You can't. It's hard to put words on it, but like, we're gonna try. We're gonna try. No,
exactly, yeah,
it's great. You're saying that you were just letting whatever was coming up for you and honest, like, be shared, as opposed to
mhm.
trying to construct something that was like a correct grade or like a
Yeah,
high.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah,
I mean, it's totally human. You know, we grow up in school trying to make the right answer,
hmm,
and you're reinforced by that type of thinking. Whereas
yeah,
an art school, a high level art school, you're really not encouraged to think that way. You're encouraged to
mhm,
think in terms of exploration and sharing and vulnerability and discovery and playfulness, right?
definitely, yeah, yeah.
Would that how would you characterize your this year's audition as more in that realm than the others,
Definitely.
or did you feel like your work was kind of consistent all 3 years?
Well, consistent, yeah. I think so. The first year, it was very much like, we're just gonna go for it type of year, you know. And I just kind of threw myself at it. I was like, this is me. Sometimes I wish I had that kind of like naivety back, that kind of just sense of just like, wow, just throwing yourself into something, which is great. Like, do that if you if you can. And I was so incredibly confident. And then in between my first and my second year, I did a foundation course in Edinburgh with Rose Bruford, and I think that was really helpful. But it also led me to really sort of like overthink sometimes because I wasn't particularly used to approaching my work in that way, um, and that led me to kind of get scared and shrivel up. And I was lucky enough to make it as far as I did the second year, but the first year, the last year, sorry, I had that time to just think about, you know, go back. Why do you want to be an actor? Why do you love this? And then really kind of yeah, I just go into it. This the third year I was terrified every single audition. But I think yeah, it was very much a sense of I'm here to learn. And what can you guys do for me to help me grow as an actor? Which is
Nice.
very great because after every audition I came out learning something new about how I work as an actor and also what they can do for me and how they work. Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
it was
you're
all very like trial error. Yeah.
you're learning from them like in the moment. It's almost like the audition is kind of a workshop.
Yeah,
Um,
very much yes, and
sounds like.
that's such a perfect way to think about it and approach it. It's not an audition, it's a rehearsal, it's a workshop. You have an opportunity um to work with some amazing teachers, some really, really amazing brilliant minds. Um so yeah, I think by sorry if I'm just like waffling, but
Oh, this
by
is
the
great.
end okay. I hope by the end of like the end of my day in the third round auditioning, third year. I was just free. It was really lovely. It was like so tense, and then I was like, wow, I actually learned a lot from that second round. So I came in, I was so free, and I was able to have that nice like baseline of just like play, and then there were so many discoveries that round, and it was just really, really lovely. I had a lovely time.
What's That's awesome. What's the opposite of that? You're talking about this sense of play, and you also experienced sometimes the opposite. Can you
Mhm.
define what the opposite is for you?
Yeah, I think I experienced the opposite on my first round. On the day on the third year. First no, yeah, first round third year. It was so I was just it's like when you try to be a good actor, like you try really hard to be a good actor, and you know, and you're like this is going to be a good performance, and you try so hard to achieve the idea of good, and I was so attached to that I just came in, and I well, like, I do want to see what I look like, but I don't. I kind of wish I was like a fly on the wall in that room sometimes. But I think I came in and I was just like, oh, just like really tense. And yeah, I got second round luckily, and then I remember everyone was just like, okay, just we're just gonna breathe first of all, um, which at the time I was like, oh no, like they caught me. But yeah, it was, yeah, I think trying to be a good actor, um and then just overthinking, being like, I haven't done enough work, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. It's like, no, yes you have, you're okay. Your intentions are good in what you're doing here. I think you said something to me a long time ago. You said, we're just giving the gift, which is a really, really lovely way of putting it. It's just like, release it, just all the pressure. What you have is what you have. So just accept that and play. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of that's the only thing that's going to let you share yourself. If you
Openly,
are
yeah.
not feeling that sense of like giving and like I'm just entertaining the people and giving the gift or whatever it is, you're going to
Mhm.
be, trying to control yourself, or you're trying to, it's going to be excessive tension. Yeah,
Exactly.
obviously you're going to be a little bit tense. So no, it's great. And golly, I mean, from 16 years old to 19 years old, like those are three very developmental years as a
They really
human.
are. Yeah. They
Not even
really are.
not even as an
Yeah.
artist or anything, right? Like you're probably
Mm.
your whole like lens of the world probably is still developing, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
In big ways. We're all changing all the time. But like I can't
Yeah.
imagine how the school has like maybe changed in
Yeah.
your eyes, and just acting in general has changed in your eyes.
Very, very much so. Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, 'cause, yeah, I started working with you guys when I was like 16. And sometimes I think back on some of those sessions, I'm like, what was I doing? What was I saying? But yeah, yeah, it's been a lot of just change, I think 17 is just such a crazy year, in my opinion. Um, 17, it's like the most mental year that almost anyone could go through. It's like, am I an adult or am I a teenager? And you don't know who to be. Um, so that year I made a lot of mistakes and learned from them and grew from them, hopefully. And 18, yes, same sort of thing. But yeah, I think as yeah, the school definitely changes in your eyes. But I was very lucky for it to still feel like home. I think the first time callback weekend, I was just kind of bouncing off the walls and running about, and I had a great, lovely time. And I met some people I really, really adore and that I hold very dear to me. Um, but I didn't learn a single thing, if I'm being completely honest, because I was just so unbelievably happy to be there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, and which is like, I'm so grateful
Just to
for
be
that because
clear, sorry, just to be clear, like you had callback weekend all 3 years, correct?
yes, I did. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was waitlisted the 2 years before. Yeah, yeah. Sorry for not reiterating that, but yeah. And then the second year was very much okay. I'm gonna try be what I think Juilliard wants me to be. Year. So I came in and I just like, I put a lot of effort in, but it wasn't open. It was just like, what happens if I approach this like, like high school or like normal university, which is great. It's like it's great for, hard work, but it's just, I think it didn't have that sense of like openness that I needed. And I think there was still a lot of stuff that I had to figure out on my own at that point in time when I was 18. But yeah, yeah.
I remember you telling me, I'm actually glad I didn't get in the first 2 years
Yeah, I really
because
am
like, I
actually.
feel ready now.
Yeah, I do. I think
Yeah.
I was sort of lying. I remember thinking to myself, um, on the second year auditioning, I was like, am I quite ready? And then it was like a mix of like monkey brain and Cormac brain. It was like, I'm not sure. It doesn't really feel right. And then monkey brain would be like, no, it's time this year. And then yeah, and it wasn't, and I'm glad it wasn't because there was still so much I had to figure out. And yeah, and then this year was very much like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready or not. I don't know. And I would listen to myself. Um, and then by the end of it, there was kind of this reassurance. It's like, wow, this feels really um normal and sort of like I guess casual in a sense. I was talking to some students before I went in callback weekend on the last year, and they were like, "Are you nervous?" I went, "No." And that's weird. That's a weird feeling. I'm not really nervous. And obviously, you don't have to not be nervous for anyone watching this. Nerves is it happens to everybody. It's a great thing. It really depends on your experience, nerves or no nerves. Um, but yeah, it was just like, no, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling nervous, and it all felt very casual and very normal. And it felt like I was kind of just like going to school. Um,
At
that
that point, you had
lasted.
already gotten like 3 workshops with Juilliard that are like private, you
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
exactly,
So this is like another,
exactly.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, everybody's experience is unique, and yeah, you went really, I think, as far down as you could. I don't know anybody who's auditioned more than 3 times. So
Mhm.
this is about as deep as it goes. And
Yeah, I think so.
so let's get into some details. Did you do any of the same monologues over the course of the 3 years?
No, I don't I like I no, I didn't. I think yeah, I think it's probably for me anyway, it was best not to because you change over those years. Um, so what you do is going to change, and how you look at those pieces is going to change, and how you relate to those pieces is going to change. Um, so so
I
yeah,
remember
I different pieces every year.
you chose new pieces and everything. Now, approximately how many pieces did you prepare uh, year to year? If you,
It was for each year. I think um I personally like to just if something's feeling a little bit stale, I like to just play with something new. Um, just because I feel like that kind of like freshens me up and breaks me out a little bit. So yeah, there was like some pieces on this in the back pocket that I'd have, but it was very much for in the song each year. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What was your philosophy when choosing the pieces? Like, did you want to go with the classical? Did you want to do Shakespeare? Did you want to do verse? Or with the contemporary? Did you want to do something from a Scottish playwright? Or like, what were you kind of aiming towards a little bit as you were reading?
I think obviously that philosophy changed like year to year. Um, like my first 2 years it was just what would be good, which is yeah. But I think the third year, it was very much yeah, it was Shakespeare verse. I just like verse, and it's fun to break down, and it's kind of like once you break down verse, it's same prose, but I think verse more so because of the rhythm. But yeah, once you break it down, it's kind of like poetry, and the piece kind of becomes your own, and that way you feel so much more emotionally attached to it. I think that's just the beauty of doing Shakespeare anyway. But um, yeah, and then sorry, I'm just like lost my train of thought. Contemporary monologues. I I really wanted to for the third year. I was like, what are plays and characters that I've wanted to play myself? Sorry for the noise outside, but that I've like dream roles basically for me. And it's the same with the Shakespeare, but more so with the contemporary. And there was I like Sam Shepard, and I like Very Child. I like the monologue at the end of Very Child, and
Wow.
I've seen a lot of YouTube renditions of that. Um, I was I was seeing a lot of the same thing. It was a lot of just like whispering into the camera, just like, and I wanted to see what I could do, and see if I could play with it a bit more. And I just really liked the monologue. It was just so like so something like the language is so gritty, and then yeah, and then this monologue really excited me because I knew instantly as I was picking, I was like, oh, what do I want to do? This play definitely. It was Every Brilliant Thing by Duncan Macmillan. Have you read it?
Yeah,
It's
I've not read it actually. I
yeah,
know Duncan MacMillan's a fantastic playwright.
he's brilliant. Yeah, we did it at school in high school during COVID time, but then we went into lockdown because world went up into flames and stuff. Uh, and so we couldn't do it. And then we came back into school and we kind of completely abandoned the idea of doing that. And then I left school and we hadn't done it. But you know, you do that having like sort of known the play and this and that. And I didn't get a main part at the time for that one. So that was kind of like a thing that not it didn't bother me obviously, but it was just kind of like, you know, I would
You
love to
wanted
play
to,
this part.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
yeah. And then and then as we come back, doing the foundation course, so about my second year of auditioning for drama school, they were doing it again because like, we were just going to bring this back and do it. And I watched it and I was like, I really love this play. It's very personal to me in many different ways, and it's just a really sweet play. And I like you know when you're watching a performance, you just kind of a part of you wants to step up and like step out of the audience and just like go up
Yes.
to the stage and just like replace the poor actor that's up there. Yeah, that was very much me when I was watching it. So yeah, that was a big pick. So yeah, just I guess long story short, pick monologues that you really want to do, and that I guess a good way of looking at it is like what's a role that you've always wanted to play, or a type of role that you've always wanted to play. Because I guess thinking about what shows you as a good actor, um, you're here to train. You're not gonna if you wanted to be a good actor, then you'd be in the industry and you'd be working. Um, so so yeah, I guess look for things that you want to have fun with and you think that and you like, because either way it's going to represent you in some way. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way of putting it. Some people articulate it differently, but I like how you know, focused on just being attracted to the role, you
Yeah.
know, in terms of like that's going to make my artistry come alive. I'm
Yeah.
going to feel like there's a lot to chew on. I'm going to feel excited to bring truth to that, right?
Mm.
Um, it seems like yeah, you had plenty to play with, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
so cool. All right, so did you audition for any other schools besides Juilliard?
Yeah, it was the UK run through. I think it slimmed down year by year. So I think my first year applying, I did every school possible, and that was nice because I was able to just kind of see what schools I didn't like, and there were some schools where I'd see that and I wasn't really feeling it, or the students looked miserable, and I would be like, oh, okay, to me like here. And there were some schools I was like, wow, this is really really great. And then there's a lot of audition horror stories that I had with my year going, but there's also a lot of lovely stories. It's not a terrible experience. It's a great experience. But yeah, and yeah, so I did the basically the UK run through. So and then this year is down to like 5 schools, including Juilliard. Yeah,
Cool. Family, did they support you going you
yeah.
know, did they support you going off to drama school, leaving the country, or were they kind of like, hey, you know, what are you doing? It's been 3 years now. What the hell's going on?
I think yeah, I'm so incredibly lucky to have the family that I do. They've been so incredibly supportive. I mean, you've met my mom. I think that just goes to show, um, incredibly supportive and invested. I think they knew I wanted to apply to Juilliard since I was about 12 years old. Because I did a school show and I was like on my phone and I saw that. And I thought, oh, looks amazing. But has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. But yeah. They've been amazing. They've been really, really, really wonderful. I think
That's great.
third year, it was, they've just been helping me out, just trying to keep me on the right path. And I remember in between my second and my third, I was sat with my dad. I was like, I really don't know what I'm gonna do. And then he was like, why don't you just go away for a bit? And so I did, and I learned a lot, and it was an experience that I kind of needed to have. But yeah, I think
Where'd you go?
um, I went to South Africa
Oh,
for yeah for 3 months.
wow.
I yeah, I think that was a really great experience. That was just nice to because I live with my parents at the moment, and I was living with them at the time, and I wasn't getting the experience of independence, or like what's it actually like to just sort of be alone for a bit.
Mhm.
So I was like, And so I was like, okay, what's the furthest place away where I can't go? Well, I want to go home. And South Africa is literally, bottom of the world, bottom of the map compared to where I am. So yeah, that was the choice. I also have some family there, so I think if I run out of money or anything goes wrong, I would have a place to go to, and I wouldn't be completely stranded. But yeah, it was nice to just be alone and what am I like um outside of Edinburgh, because I know Edinburgh and I know me in Edinburgh. So yeah.
Yeah, part of going to school, whether you're a bachelor student or a master's student, is kind of getting out of your comfort zone, in
Yeah,
that way,
yeah,
obviously,
very much is.
but also personally, and just the opportunity for growth there.
Yeah, and that was something I didn't have at the time. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so you got the monologues, you're auditioning. Um, I know you kind of said some of the things that happened in the room, but let's actually get into the room here.
Okay.
Like, who did you audition for when you first stepped into the initial audition this year? You said Evan?
Yes, it was Evan and Dwight were the first two people in the in-person audition, and it was Evan that worked with me the most, I think. Yeah, because I walked in the first audition. Um, I was just really frigid. But yeah, Evan Dwight.
Did they ask you for more than two pieces, or was it more like do your two pieces and you're out?
Um, so first time it was two pieces, and then they're like, okay, and then I left, and then yeah, second round,
Well,
they
how did
saw
it
my.
feel? Did you feel like, oh shit, I'm not even getting a call back? Or like, did you feel like,
I
all
Yeah.
right, I shared.
No, definitely not. I didn't. I felt like I felt like I didn't give the gift. I put down a present and then stamped my foot on it repeatedly. Is how I felt. I think Eddie might have told you this. But yeah, I came out of the audition. And I was just like, and he was like, no, you definitely did. And I was like, no, that was genuinely terrible. And and then he came out of his first round exactly the same, but it was like more dramatic because he fully packed his bags. Like he had his suitcase on, he had his coat on, and I was like, this guy is ready to go. But yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's crazy.
what
But
did you
yeah,
lead with?
what did I leave with from
Yeah,
that
what was
one?
your first piece?
So yes, I did Every Brilliant Thing and King Lear for my contemporary my Shakespeare for that one. Yeah,
Cool.
Edmund.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Um, I want to just take this moment to let everyone who's listening know and put your fear aside for doing an overdone piece, because
Mhm.
as you can see from Cormac and from other people we've spoken with, Eddie, who you just mentioned,
Yeah.
we're doing the most overdone pieces, right? Edmund and
Yeah.
Antony, which is what
Yeah.
Eddie did, are the two most overdone male Shakespeare pieces. Okay.
Mhm.
Just because it's overdone does not mean shit, right? If you connect to it, you have the opportunity to bring, like you said, yourself to it, and break down the poetry, find out how it resonates for you and your interpretation, all that stuff you get to discover throughout your prep. That's what makes it interesting every single year and every single student. So, great. Not that you did that on purpose, but it's a good point to make,
Yeah.
because it's
No,
like, well, I
it's
don't want to do
very good.
Anthony. Like, well, if you
Yeah.
like it, do it.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly. I think,
you'll get in every
yeah,
year.
really good point. I have a friend who was doing Tis Torture, Not Mercy from Romeo and Juliet, and we were all talking about it. It was me and two other guys, including that friend who was doing it, and he was like, yeah, I might be doing Tis Torture this year, and then my other mate was like, what? And then he was like, what? He was like, I've just never seen anyone do that piece well. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, do what you want to do. And I was talking to these people at a panel recently about how everyone in a cohort or a rehearsal, it's like a big potluck dinner. Everyone's bringing something new to the table. It's the same with Shakespeare pieces. So yeah, like Anthony said, if you like the piece, bloody do the piece. If even if your teacher's like, I don't like it, I don't think you should do it. It's overdone. That's
So
all the
done.
more reason to do it because it's so brave. It's such a
Yeah.
brave thing to
Yeah.
take that on with what you have. So yeah.
Yeah, just be one with the material. Like, don't worry
Yeah,
about noise around the material. If
exactly. It's
the
just,
material
yeah,
is resonating with you, then
all
it
there.
means something. Okay, cool. So you just do the two pieces in your first audition. They don't ask for anything else, and you're
And
just
then I go.
like, screw the pooch.
Yeah.
So you then what?
And then I waited for a while. It was a lot, yet you know, because it was morning group and then afternoon group for first round auditions, and that happens until for the first two rounds of the day. Um, so you have to, you know, you wait for everyone else in the morning group to do their auditions, and then you wait for everyone in the afternoon group to do their auditions. Um, which is a shame for me at the time because I had a lot of time to just like think and overthink. Um, and you've also got a lot of time to prepare because I was morning group, which I would rather have because I do tend to overthink before going out there, especially in a audition environment. But yeah, I I was talking to Eddie actually, and we were just like talking, having a laugh, and then one of the students they put their hand on my shoulder. I turn around and they go, "It's time," and I was just like frozen. But yeah, I think yeah, second round was a lot of waiting, and Kathy comes out and she's very lovely about it. She's like, "Thank you all for sharing your work today, but you know, if your name's on the list, you are free to go home." And yeah, so she put up the list, and I look at it, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not on this list, and I read it, and I'm on the list, and so is Eddie. So we both feel great, except Eddie didn't see it, and he was kind of at the back because he was certain that he didn't make it through. And then I turned around to him, and I was like, "You made it through," which I like apologized to him after because I was like, I should have let him have that moment himself. But yeah, yeah, we both made it through the second round, and then it was like instantly, you know, head straight back to the audition room and wait and do your pieces. Um, and then this time, um, this is when Evan was like, "Okay, just breathe." And then I was like, "Oh, they got me." But yeah, we, I just let go, and she was trying to get me to just, you know, release the breath, just release the breath, and and I was doing that, but I was still really tense. So she was like, "Okay," and then eventually I reached this point where I did reach this just really nice part of vocal projection. I'm yet to find out what that was, and I'm sure I will within the next 4 years. But it was nice because I felt much more clear and much more open, and I was super. I think the stakes for some reason had been raised in my head, and I was super nervous. And she got up and worked with me, and she was brilliant. I think there was one point where she was talking to me, and like all the vision in my eyes started to go, and all I could see was like her face. Um,
Amazing.
but
She
yeah,
really is a fantastic acting teacher.
she really is. She like I think the thing is you kind of I guess when you're building up that much adrenaline, you sort of become a vessel for what they're doing. And we talked about, you know, long thoughts, and then we worked on my second Shakespeare, which was Arthur from King John. And we worked on that a bit, just working on a speech and actually thinking about the circumstances and playing the circumstances instead of playing the emotion. Because I think you know this, I have a habit of just trying to be as emotional as possible. Um, and trying to think like
Very
what they feel and what they feeling, which is great, but also you need to think about, you know, what's happening in this moment. So we talked about that, and she was like, okay, so the stakes are high here, and you don't want to die. She was like, yes. She was like, okay, to play that, remember long thoughts, use that section of your voice, and that allowed me to listen to the words too, um, rather than just sort of like say Shakespeare and just get on with it. It was nice to just have that and really understand it in your head. And then she went, okay, and I'll take this and put it into Edmund. And then Edmund became an entirely different piece out of
very cool.
nowhere. And I was able to just follow my instincts and listen to the speech and what I'm saying, and also listen to the pattern as well. Because the great thing about Shakespeare is that most of the time he's actually just done most of the work for you, and that's the lovely thing about verse too, is that, you know, a lot of these characters personalities and stuff come out in the speech. The example I could pick out with Edmund was lusty stealth of nature. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a sentence that kind of goes like that. It just sort of, and that's
Mm-hmm.
something that you have with a very cunning character. Someone who sort of like, you know, is very prowlish. So yeah, and that was just great. And then and that was like a flood of just realizations and knowledge from what my voice can do and what Shakespeare's speech can do, and also what the teachers can do for me. Because Evan sort of like picked me up and then cradled me to this brand new, completely fresh feeling piece.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's
And I
incredible.
did
Yeah.
my
And
own.
it sounds like you were, able to go there, right? You could have
Yeah,
absolutely said, I understand what you're saying, but and then tensed up and not really explored.
yeah,
Uh, so the fact that you
yeah,
were able to take direction, that you were able to find out and not know, and then
mhm,
discover, wow,
yeah.
what was that? Like
Yes,
you
exactly.
create whole new sensations that you couldn't have possibly predicted. And then, that informs how you move forward with the piece, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really exciting thing. I think it's a habit everyone has to just try to pre-plan your audition, think about what's going to happen in that room. And the thing is, you have no idea what's going to happen in that room. You will never know. And the more you just let go of that, just allow yourself to not know what's going to happen in the room, and just like allow what's happening to happen and just go with what's going on instead of tensing up. You just have to give everything a go. um I think that's when the best work will come through. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when the best work will come through. And that's also when you will know if this school feels like a match. Like
Yes,
you said
exactly.
before about schools that weren't a match. It's
Hmm.
because, hey, you're present in the situation and
Yeah,
things can occur to you.
yeah, definitely.
Very cool. All right. So that was in front of everybody, or was that still just Dwight and Evan?
um I think there were more people on the panel at the time. I think that, to be honest, I'm gonna be really honest, it was such a tense intense time for me that I just like, people ask me like,
You were
who
just
was
in
in
the
there?
work.
It's like I can't, like I can't remember. Yeah, it's like I have no idea.
You're in the language, you're in the work. It's fantastic.
Exactly.
Whatever, whoever sees this is good. Whatever.
Yeah, I feel like I'm like disappointing anyone who wants to know who's in the room anytime they ask me. It's the same thing. It's like, what happened? What happened? It's like, mate, I genuinely cannot remember for the life of me. Like you sort of just black out. But yeah. It was,
Yeah, no,
everyone was
that's why it's
definitely
always cool if you could be a fly on the wall. We all think that.
exactly. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
it'd be so cool to see. Okay, cool. So then, is this the end of the day?
Yeah. Moving on to the end of the day, that's where the panel gets really, really big. Um, bigger than it was both rounds before. But yeah, I think by the end of the day, um, I kind of had just eased up a lot, and I was so much more happy and confident because it was such like a. I think I was scared because as I was leaving that intense, just raw work session, um, Evan said to me, she was like, by the way, it's as well compact, not as compact. So you might want to take a little look at your speech there. Um, which is, thank you, Evan, for that advice. It's like it's like, obviously if you're doing Shakespeare, you want to know the words. Because I was saying as compact, but yeah. And I walked out and I was like, oh, I don't know my speech. Like that's so bad. Rookie mistake. Horrible. Like I didn't get it. And then there was a lot of waiting after that, and I was just like, because the Juilliard building, the drama area, it's kind of it's like a square, and you can kind of just go in laps. I was just like walking around in laps, just like dreading everything, and just like kicking the floor, like kind of thing. Um, like sad music in the background. But then I was, either way though, I think I was just grateful to have learned anyway. I think that was that was one of the most overwhelming feelings from that, besides just sheer dread. I was very grateful to actually, gain something from it, no matter how it went. So yeah, and then it was really reassuring to get the final for the day. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, they like how I work and I can work with them. And I was like, welcome back, just welcome back, just welcome back. I was trying to keep it
Welcome back.
nice and
Welcome
calm.
back.
Yeah. And then and yeah, which was great. And then suddenly all the tension just sort of just dropped out from my body, which was like really freeing. And I felt 17 again. I was like bouncing off the walls, and I was just super delighted, um, because it's such a great thing. And yeah, so we go into third round, and we're just completely free. And I'm talking to the students, and since I've done final callback, which we'll get to later, but it's a very bonding experience, and you get to know everyone. I know the students, and I was able to connect with them because you're so open. I'll explain it a bit, but yeah. And so I was just like talking to the students and talking to the other applicants who were all lovely. Like we got along so well, and yeah, it was just a brilliant time. And then eventually I was called back, and the panel was much bigger this time. Everyone was there, and we do this thing where we kind of like introduce each other. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoilers for anyone auditioning. This
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think yeah
But yeah,
you want to
you're
enjoy this
introduced to
experience.
each other, and this is your story too. Everybody's
That's true.
whoever's in the room. It's very tailored to that actor. So
Yeah.
what happens to you absolutely may not happen to
No,
anyone.
that's a very good point. Yeah. Um, but yeah, we all introduced ourselves to the panel individually. Um, and I remember on the panel was Jasmine Johnson, who was really lovely, and she was just like smiling at me the whole time. That was really nice.
Oh,
But yeah, and we we ended up just waiting, and you answer a few questions that they give to you on a sheet. And I won't tell you what those questions are because can't pre-plan this. Sorry, guys, but yeah, but yeah,
can't
and
plan it, but it might be
you can.
something along the lines of, talk
Yeah.
about your
It's
art
fine. It
and
might rhyme with it's
it gives you an
just talk about
opportunity. It gives you an opportunity, right, to now that you kind of feel, you know, some of the tension from the initial auditions have gone away. They want you to kind of process some of your thoughts around your art and how you relate to material, your strengths and weaknesses, the various things that kind of and hey,
yeah
they could have changed it, but I think it's a pretty solid opportunity for you to share some more thoughts now that you're deeper in the process.
yeah definitely and that will change. It's just how um it's basically just asking about your experiences as an artist, how you think as an artist,
Yeah.
and obviously that will change in weeks and months. So just how you're feeling now, write that down. Don't try to construct a good answer. Don't try to think of anything. Think of if a
Yeah,
good
your
artistic
grammar
experience.
doesn't, you don't need to have a
That's it,
correct period after the end of the, you know what I'm saying? It's
Mhm.
like much more
Yeah,
about just, do
yeah,
you feel like you when
yeah,
you,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
don't go the other way too. Don't intentionally have bad grammar or have like
yeah,
random, however you would speak and however you would articulate
mhm.
yourself, just put that on the page. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's all. Yeah, just let go and think about what you want to say. But yeah, I was worried about my handwriting. Really worried because I have terrible handwriting. But yeah, it all worked out. But yeah, and then so I think they could tell that I was very loosened up and ready. All the tension was gone. So one of the teachers, again, I forget who it is, and I feel horrible about it. But she was like, "Okay, we're gonna work on Edmund a bit." Actually, no. Yes, we. So Evan was like, "Okay, we're gonna see your pieces again. Think about that long train of thought and using that part of your voice." And I worked on Arthur and Edmund again, and then one of the teachers said, "Okay, with Edmund, are you having a good day?" And then I was like, "It's gonna be a good day," because after that discovery with Edmund, I just had a completely new perspective. So I was like, "Yeah, it's gonna be a great day. It's gonna be a good day." And she was like, "Okay, so imagine it's gonna be a brilliant day, and you're playing a game of tennis in the morning, and you're sort of planning this out." Um, So I was like, okay, cool. And that made me smile a lot because I was like, oh, great. Like, it's just like, it's one of those things where you're just able to just like play. And yeah, there's something happens. Eddie says this a lot, and I fully agree with him. Something happens when you enter that building where you just become sort of just like it's like a weird magic. You just sort of become like very open, and things happen. It's just very yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing what they do. They're all wizards at the end of the day. But yeah, and and yeah. So I was playing this game of tennis, and it just brought a completely also different side to this character. I was like this, playboy Patrick Bateman-ish energy, which was just great. And I remember just screaming bass, and I had a little bit of like ad lib on there. I'd be like counting the score, um, and it was yeah, it was a really just fun audition. And I remember because it was so because the past two rounds I'd walked out just like, and then this round I came out and I was just so pumped and so delighted. And again, that will be different for everyone. You could come out all three times just feeling horrible, and you could get in. You could come out all three times feeling absolutely over the moon, and you could get in, or you couldn't get in, or it's
Yep,
different for everybody.
it
And
really is.
yeah, that's another thing I've learned over these 3 years is like you will never ever know who is getting in the school and who won't. It's not a betting game because you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. You will
So
lose a
true.
lot of money.
So true. I mean,
Yeah.
you know that after just 3 years, like we've been coaching so many people, and we
Hmm.
see it every single year. We see
Yeah.
people who are doing fantastic work, medium work, not great work, all on the
Yeah.
spectrum, all have an opportunity to get called back. All of them have the opportunity to like not even get past the first round. Like, and I told Eddie this, so it's funny if you're watching, you're probably, you've seen the Eddie thing.
I'm gonna watch Eddie's video as soon as
Yes,
that comes out.
absolutely,
But
absolutely. But anyway, we talked about how none of us who got in knew we were going to get in.
yeah.
It's not like, oh yeah, I'm here. What's up? I'm going to get in.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
oh,
Yeah.
you don't, when you see your name on the sheet, if you see your name, you're just like, oh, here
Yeah.
we go. We're going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get it's just a fun opportunity no matter what. And like you
Yeah.
said, you grow if you have that sort of sense of play and you're able to learn something. Hey, that's valuable in and of itself, no matter the outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Yeah. You just there's no point in trying to think about anything in that sense. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're free playing tennis, you're doing Shakespeare. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Um
It was so much fun. It was so much
and any conversation after that, or were they like, all right, are you asked to do your song at all?
fun. No, I wasn't. Which I think at the time I was quite upset about because I don't think of myself as a singer whatsoever. Um, I tell it to people all the time. So like, oh, you doing drama? Do you sing? I'm like, no, definitely not. But I've been working on my singing, just being a bit more confident with my voice. And then I didn't get the opportunity to sing, and then I was like, oh, but I was still over the moon with the amount of fun I had. But yeah, and then afterwards, they were like, okay, did you win? And I went, yeah, I did. I won that game. And then and they're like, great, and that was it. And then they kind of like they looked around, they're like, and then they're like, okay, cool, that's enough. And I'm like, cool, great. And I went out, and I was just so there was it's so funny thinking back, but there was another guy outside. His name is Nigel. He is also going to be part of Group 57 this year. But he was out there, and he's way taller than me. He's like, I don't know how tall he is, but in the 6 foot, and for anyone watching, I'm in the 5 foot area strictly. But yeah, and I just saw him, and I was like so overwhelmed with just sheer joy, and I just gave him a huge hug. He was like, "Oh, okay," and then just, but but yeah, and then Kathy came out, and I walked away. But yeah, yeah, yeah,
Very cool. So that was it for you, or did you have an interview afterwards? Like, what else for
yeah,
that day?
yeah. I had an interview, which was also just a really, really nice experience.
I mean, they had talked to you before, right? I mean, what were
They
they
yeah,
asking
they
in
had.
this third year? What are they
I know.
asking you, like,
Yeah.
what else do they need to know?
I know exactly, but I think it's quite funny because at this point it really just felt like a catch up with old friends, um, which was really great. I was kind of that was worried me loads because other people were like, "Yeah, we talked about my process and what this means in the work and stuff like that," and it could go like that. It really could, and my first year auditioning, um, it was about my process, and it was about why do you like these two actors and that kind of thing, and them just really trying to get to know you. But this year it's just like chat with mates, and it was just a right laugh. It was just great. Yeah, yeah.
You're like, hey
We're talking
man,
about sharks. Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about what?
Literally, sharks. It was like because yeah, 'cause I find myself to be. I don't want to like frame myself as ditzy and awkward because that's just quite a silly thing to do. But I do tend to have quite like a naturally just awkward personality because I can be quite killingly self-aware. So I walked in, they went, "Hey, hey," and then I went, "Hey." I just like, I just like, I don't know. There were some parts of that interview because since I was so also just completely buzzed over what just happened, and so so like that was amazing. I came in and I was just like so giddy and so joyful. So there's just some things that because so there was a moment where I was talking and I was like, "Do you guys have Zip Zap Boing here?" And then they're like, "Oh, I don't know," and they took a moment to discuss it over themselves. And obviously, I didn't think Zip Zap Boing was like necessarily that important, but but like whenever my friends are talking about something that I don't think is that important, and they come back to me and they're like, "Yeah, we have that, but it's something else." I usually go sarcastically. I'm like, "Glad we got that one sorted." Like, do you know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
And then I felt that in my head. I was like thinking, "Glad we got that one sorted," but I was about to say it when I stopped myself, and then I just went, "Okay," and then which was just so so bad. And then I think I hope they saw me just like die in my face because I said that I was like, oh, but yeah, we just continued to talk and just chat, and laugh, and yeah, yeah,
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like this third year you were kind of just you in all your dimensions,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
as opposed to whatever. You were just super three-dimensional, flaws and
exactly.
all, you know.
Yes, I
Um,
very much so. Yeah, I think that transparency I've learned is so so important, especially for you as well, not just for like them. It's if you're gonna pretend to be this, smart, intelligent, which you might be, not that you're not, but if you're just gonna like play this character the whole time, you're gonna have to keep that up for the next 4 years of your life, and that's just gonna be truly, truly, truly exhausting. And I like it's easy to say that as you're going in, but because it's so hard to really truly not think, okay, what do they want me to do? It's such a hard thing. Um, so I think when going in, just it's sort of a leap of faith. And Josh O'Connor, an actor that I really like at the moment, talks about as an artist, you have to take a leap of faith, and yeah, so it was just breaking down those walls completely, like completely. This is
right.
you with your friends, and you're going to be spending the next 4 years with them, and they're going to feel like family by the time you leave, and you don't want to feel like family as someone that you're not, you know. And you don't want to grow as an artist as someone that you're not, because then you'll have a lot of other things to reel out post school. But yeah, yeah, I think it's just about letting go and just how would I do in a day of rehearsals with these people is I think a good way to look at the auditions.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
All right, so you leave the interview, you're now between callback weekend and not callback weekend. You don't know if you're going to get called back.
yeah, yeah.
When do you find out? How do you feel going home?
Um, it was around February time, and I think like over the years I'd learned to just it's not going to happen unfortunately, but I learned to just try and keep going on with life without thinking about it too much. But every day it was how's it gonna be? How's it gonna be? But yeah, and I was with my girlfriend that night. I was, because they tell you when you're gonna hear, and I think it was February 10th this year. They give you slip of all the information. You can take a look at the school further on because they're also great. They're also like, you are auditioning us as much as we are auditioning you, and they make that abundantly clear. And yeah, so I knew the date, but it really depends on the time because there's that time gap. And over the auditions, you know, you meet people and you kind of create numbers and their group chats and whatnot. And yeah, I was with my girlfriend goes to St Andrews in Scotland. So I was with her and we went to see the Bob Marley movie, but I just couldn't watch it. I was just sat there like rocking back and forth, and then like I'd be like, I have to go, and I'd leave and check my emails, and there's nothing there, and then it would just come back, and I'd be like, I actually need to go to the toilet for the third time. But yeah, um, and then I eventually went, you know what, just forget about it, just forget about it. And I just put my phone in my pocket, and then we come back from the movie. It was her friend and her and me. We were all sat there, and we were in our house. And then I turn on my phone again, and I check Instagram, and I see that the group chat has blown up out of nowhere, which is today is kind of silent. So I just looked at it and went, something's happened. And then I see this was I find this really funny. I see a separate DM from Eddie, separately from anyone else. It just says, "You hear anything?" So at that point in time, I knew Eddie had heard and that he'd gotten it. I was like, okay, Eddie got it. Made that very obvious. Thanks, Eddie. So I checked my phone and then I looked in and it said congratulations. I remember it was very short because I just went, oh yes, and then I like jumped and then I did a little laugh and went, and then for some I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I just went like put my phone back in my pocket and just went on about my
Oh, you
night.
mean like your inner self versus your outer self?
Yeah, it was like a mix of just like I was super happy, but then it was also just like I don't know. It was like very short lasting celebration, you know. I think over the years it might have like dialed down a little bit because like she's like but yeah, but it was so exciting, and I remember texting Eddie and I was like, this is the most excited I've been about a callback weekend because at that point I was just super excited to meet everyone and just just have a good time and learn. I think because at that point, I think at that point that's when I kind of subconsciously knew, it's like, okay, I'm actually ready to go here. Because the past 2 years I'd either been like just like super pumped and super excited um to go out to New York. Because New York has always been like a dream of mine. And that was just an exciting thing. Um and then the second year I was like, okay, game plan, what are we gonna do here? What are we gonna do here? And then third year I was like, I'm actually just super excited to learn and meet people. Genuinely, I wasn't saying that because I knew it's like what I should be saying. I was genuinely excited to learn. At that point, you're like, okay, I have a lot to learn as an actor, and I'm okay with like meeting new people and like networking as an artist. You're just gonna meet the future generation of acting. So yeah, it was just really exciting, and I couldn't sleep because I was just so excited. But yeah.
And so now you have to wait until callback weekend.
Yeah,
So
oh my god, that was
your
miserable.
group chat's probably blowing up or whatever, and you finally
Yes,
get
yeah.
there. You've been to callback weekend twice. You know, was this majorly different, or was it pretty much as far as the structure goes? Was it the same structure? And I know you were different, but did they
Yeah.
kind of bring you through the same activities?
Yeah, the structure was the same. Yeah, the activities were the same. I think there was a comedy class that was slightly switched. But again, I don't want to like reveal too much because obviously it's a magical time, so you don't want to
Yeah,
you
I
don't
mean,
want to
look, everybody knows, the callback weekend is to really experience what it's like to feel like a student there.
exactly,
You
yeah.
go through some classes, you get to watch some performances, you get to obviously share your pieces again with the people and do some different things.
Yeah,
So you're just exploring, but on a full weekend basis, almost like
exactly.
you're an actual student there. Would you say
Yeah.
that's
That's exactly it. Yeah. We went to see Pericles, Prince of Tyre, which is lovely. And then afterwards we had an opportunity to chat with the cast a little bit, and I kind of they stopped the chat and they're like, okay, we've got to go back now. And then as the cues were going, I was like, I stopped one of the actors. I was like, can I please talk to you for like a minute? But yeah, yeah, it was so yeah, but it was a really really lovely experience. But the program has stayed the same. I think I did meet a couple new teachers, a couple people I hadn't worked with before. I think classes might vary depending, but it's the same sort of thing, you know. Do the classes, what's it like to be a student here? Um, yeah.
Anything stand out about callback weekend from like the what you shared, or maybe a light bulb moment, or uh, a bad moment, or anything like particular moment while you were auditioning?
I think it felt, for me anyway, just very kind of normal. Compared, obviously, it's gonna feel less abnormal since you've done it twice before. But I think again, it didn't feel like an audition at that point. It just felt like I was going to class. And I really wasn't sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because obviously it's different for everyone. There's some people who are going to
Well,
have
it's good in that you're
an
present.
amazing time. Yes, exactly.
I
I
would say
agree.
so. Whether it's the first time you go to callback weekend or the third time you go to callback weekend, if you're able to be present and playing and have a sense of um, generosity with what's being offered to you and what you're offering,
Yeah,
yeah, that sounds like
yeah,
what you do.
exactly. Yeah, I think because there were a couple moments in like the past years where I was like, wow, I did so well there. Um, and I was waitlisted, but this year was all just like, okay, I think I could have done better, and I understand what they were saying, and I was just kind of like thinking in my head, like, how can I work on that for next time, or in class or whenever. I was like just trying to process whatever was going on.
You know what I'm
Um,
kind of hearing about that and all of the rounds prior to that this year? I'm
yeah,
hearing this really strong mind-body connection.
yeah,
You actually were allowing yourself, and your body was responding to process things, you know?
definitely,
And it's not like you need to be some zenned out robot to process something. You
yeah,
can be super emotional, you could be super nervous or whatever. But if you're actually able to not be in that like fight or flight tension, but just
mhm,
whatever is the natural tension of the moment, um, you can process something and you go, all right, let me try that. Or, with the tennis game, let me, and then, oh, I have thoughts about that
yeah,
after, right?
exactly, yeah,
Not that you were overly in your head or anything, because that's not helpful either, but you're
mhm,
able to sort of give an honest response
yeah,
uh, at any given moment.
yeah, exactly. I think yeah, yeah, like you were saying, and what was I gonna say? Yeah, it was nice to be that open. There definitely for me there are times where I'm gonna be like really in my head, but for the majority of it, it was very just calm, just like okay, okay, and it was nice because Kate Wilson, the one of the voice teachers there, she is a big advocate of what works for you. Um, these are tools, not rules, is something that she says, which is great. But yeah, it's like you if something works for you, it'll stick. You don't have to remember everything. It will stick, and you will remember what they're saying, how they're thinking, and what works for you and what doesn't. And that's the kind of the point, because I don't think and what works for you and what doesn't will change over the years.
Yeah.
Definitely, like even outside of drama school, and that's the beautiful thing. But the great thing is, hopefully, I want to journal every day going, but you'll have all these tools in your arsenal, which is the great holy point of drama school. But not well, yeah, one of the points. But yeah, yeah, it was very nice to just be very self-aware. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good feeling. Um, okay, cool. So you seems like you had a pretty smooth callback weekend and we're just kind of in the workshop.
yeah.
Um, what happened after that? More waiting. I know it was only a few. They said they were going to notify people pretty quickly.
They do. They really do. It's very. I think. Well, it depends on the years, but recently it's been quite quick. I was convinced I hadn't gotten in. I was very much like, okay, because it was. I'm a bit too hard on myself sometimes. So if I come out and I don't feel incredible, I'll be like, okay, that was terrible. That was like the worst work ever. Um, you're an awful actor, which is which happens to a lot of people. But I think, yeah, I've been told I have a knack for doing that more so. But yeah. So yeah, I was very much convinced, and my phone has this thing where, so my phone contract doesn't take international calls usually. So I was ringing up my mom before, and I was like, please, can you like go to the like phone providers and just get them to change the contract just for a bit, like please, over the weekend, like this is really really important. And my mom was like, yeah, I'll do that. And then I come back and I was like, so did you do it? Because I don't, obviously I don't know if I've received anything yet, but if they tried to reach out to me, I have no idea. And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I was gardening. It was such a nice day. I was like, why? No, why did you do that? And then it was my dad's birthday, and we were on our way to Glasgow for dinner, and and then she was like, okay, fine, I'll just do it. I'll just do it. And I was like, Mom, it's fine. Like, I don't think I've gotten it. Like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And my dad was like, just let her do it anyway. And I was like, okay, cool. Um, and we're just like on the phone, and like my mom's on the phone in the passenger seat, just talking to these other two people, and they're like, okay, cool. And then obviously, as soon as that happens, I'm like staring at my phone. But
Right, right,
oh,
right.
no. That would be crazy.
That would have been
Them just
that
be like,
sounds like
yeah, we've been trying to ring you for the past 4 days. Yeah, we thought you were playing try. What am I saying? Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, and then had dinner with my dad. Happy birthday, Dad. It was lovely, and nothing. And no one else has heard anything. But it's also that thing of like, when they call you, they for all the right reasons go, please don't tell anyone else about this until you know the time is right, and you'll know when the time is right. Because you know, because they call you before the letter comes out. So I think out of respect for everyone else auditioning, you can't just go around like, oh, I got in. But yeah, and so yeah, and then the next day, um, I like slept in because I guess I was just so sort of like, I guess sad, depressed about not getting in. So I was just like sleeping in until like horrible hours in the afternoon and stuff like that. And I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and I was FaceTiming her, and I get this call from an American number, and I was just like, oh, and I thought, because I thought it was like a spam call or something, but I was also like really nervous. So I was like, Rebecca, the US number's calling me, I gotta go, bye. And then I like hung up. But my phone does this thing where if I'm on a call and then I hang up to answer another call, that call will fail for some
oh
reason.
no.
So I just like pick up and it says call failed. Okay, I'm like, oh, no, and then I'm like, I'm
You're not
looking for
in.
like recent, yeah,
You're not in.
looking. Wait, should I stop?
Oh no, yes. I was just
Oh,
saying
right.
if you don't pick up the first time, your
Yeah,
invitation
oh, right,
for a day.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. I was like, they're just gonna be like, oh, okay, and then move on to the next person, and then that's Cormac lost his spot, and then
Oh my
I tried
gosh.
calling them back because like you know how you can go like recent calls, it wasn't there, so that stressed me out even more, and I was like, what's going on? But they called me back in the next second. I pick up, and then it's Kathy Hood. Um, for anyone auditioning, you will meet Kathy Hood. She's like the loveliest woman ever. But I picked up the phone. It was Kathy, and she was like, "Hey, Cormac, it's Kathy." And then immediately I was like, "Oh, there's no way." And I was like, "Hi, how's it going?" She's like, "Did you get home okay?" Because usually this is a really stupid thing that I think of, but usually as I'm leaving, for the past 2 years, as I'm about to leave at the end of callback weekend, she's like, "Have you got like, you think you're gonna get home okay?" I'm like, yeah. And she's like, "Okay, cool." And then since that happened both years, I was like, no, I'm not getting in. But then I didn't get the chance to talk to Kathy at the end, so there was no interaction about how I'm getting home, this and that. Um, but I was like, that's just like a weird connection that I drew. But anyway, um, and then I was like, yeah, I did. She was like, good, that's very good. I'm glad. And then she was like, I have Evan here. Can we talk to you for a second? I was like, yeah. And then they're like, we would like to invite you to this new class. And I was just blown away. I was very silent. I think they thought I was crying or something because there was like a moment of silence where I was just like thinking like, oh my God. And it was like, I think for them, I can only imagine it was just like silence and like heavy breathing down the microphone. so so yeah, but and so I could only just picture them like looking at the phone, looking at each other and be like, "Are you okay?" And but then they were like, it's like a moment of silence, and they're like, "Have a wonderful day." And I was like, "Oh, I will. I'm gonna have a great day. Thank you." And then I hung up, and I immediately called my girlfriend back, and she was like, "What just happened?" Because as much as I thought I articulated U.S. numbers calling me, I gotta go. She only heard like, "Whoa, bye," and then just like, and then I like hung up. So I like told her everything, and I'm horrible. I'm so bad. I like did this thing before, which is so terrible. When I was waitlisted last year, I had to go because my mum called me, and then as I was calling her back, I was like, "Wouldn't it be funny if I just told her I got into Juilliard?" And then I did, and she like believed, yeah, like, so, and then she believed me, and then she's like, "Actually, oh my god, it's amazing." I was like, "No, I'm kidding, I didn't." And then she was like, "Why would you do that? You're awful. It's like a horrible thing to do." So when I told her this time, she was like, "Did you get in? Like, did you?" And then I was like, "Yes," and I was like screaming, and she was like, "Oh my god!" And then she's like
Oh
very
my
much,
gosh.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, yeah,
That is incredible, man. What a story. Everybody's phone call is you'll never forget it.
yeah.
You'll
Well,
never forget
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Very
I
cool,
think,
man.
yeah, yeah.
So, like, when you think about the next 4 years, right? New chapter of your life.
Mhm.
You're following your dreams. What are you excited about, I guess, in terms of training, right? We're not talking about after school and oh, those dreams. I'm just
Yeah,
like the reason that you've put 3 years into these auditions and developing, and now you're really going to go to New York and train. What are you most
yeah.
excited about?
I think um I say this I've been thinking about this a lot. It's that sense of working with people because I haven't had that in so long. Um for the past 3 years I've been doing a monologue to a lamppost. So it's been, yeah, it's gonna be nice to actually work with people because I think I was doing a script we read with another guy in 57, a guy called Ty. Um and another Sam Shepard play, and the name has just left my mind. But
True
True
West?
West, True West. Yeah, we're reading for True West, and I remember reading it, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh, I'm just not listening to Ty, and it's a script read. We're there to have fun, but I was still just so, I'm not listening to Ty, and I guess you get that feeling of like, you know, when you're audition, when you're it's not audition, when you're working with someone, um, you want to be in the scene with them. You don't want to just be doing like your lines and about how you do it. You want to be able to like listen and respond. Um, so yeah, being able to listen and respond. But in terms of classes,
No,
probably
that's great.
mask. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that whatever, there's so much to be excited about, but yeah, off the
exactly.
top of my
Yeah,
head, I mean, it is really important to kind of make that transition from like, all right, I've been doing these monologues and these auditions and these single person performances.
mm.
Uh, I'm excited to just play off of others,
Go out and live. Yeah,
a much
yeah,
bigger part of acting.
yeah. Exactly. I think like Richard, for example, it's like his class to me just seems like you're no longer acting, you're just living, and that's at the moment for me right now, that's something I really care about and really want to kind of hone in. But there's going to be so much more, and I think yeah, there's just like all of it, to be honest,
Yeah.
absolutely all of it. I'm super excited. Yeah, yeah,
That's great. Well, they're very lucky to have you. I know your work has developed and you should feel extremely excited, and I know they are as well. So when you play Hamlet at Juilliard, I will be there because
that'll be a great
goodness
moment.
knows with your killingly self-aware,
Yeah.
self-defeated dread, they will be like, finally a Hamlet.
Yeah,
Uh,
the Hamlet has arrived. Yeah.
Yes, the
Yeah.
Hamlet has arrived. So I will be there. But anyway, thank you for sharing your story, man.
Oh, someone's calling me. Sorry.
And now it's just me. Well, we'll see if Cormac comes back. But now that it's just you and me, I hope you learned something. Cormac was articulate in a way that only Cormac can be. I thought it was perfect. And here he is. Welcome back, Cormac. He's connecting.
Sorry.
Hey.
I'm so, I'm so sorry.
Was what happened?
The thing happened, the
Yeah.
call, and then yeah. But yes, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
I just did a little monologue to the audience while you were gone for a moment.
Okay,
Just
good.
expressing how, articulate you are and all that. No, it was really valuable. A lot of great thank you for being honest and thank you for sharing about your journey. Everybody's voice is unique. And we didn't really talk too much about like applying as an international student and all that stuff, but maybe we'll have you back on sometime just to focus on
Sure. Yeah.
that or whatever. But yeah, I mean, just wanted to hear about your preparation and your audition and how it all went for you. And so thanks again.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll talk soon, my friend.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it for sure.
All right. See
All
ya.
right. See ya. Bye bye.